the US presidential hopeful Hillary Clinton has become the latest high-profile figure from the United States to weigh in on the EU debate. She's followed Barack Obama's lead and given her backing to Britain remaining part of the European Union. Now, the American president has been accused of hypocrisy by some Eurosceptics after his very public intervention over the last few days. Well, I'm joined now by the Labour MP, Chuka, Umunna, who's part of the Britain Stronger in Europe campaign. And a very good morning to you, Mr. Umunna. Well, let's talk about President Obama and his right to intervene in our EU referendum debate. There are those that say it could backfire. People don't like being told what to do by foreign leaders.
Well, of course, that's something those who argue for us to leave say about Barack Obama's intervention, because from their point of view, what he said wasn't welcome. But he was very clear. This wasn't about instructing us on what we should do on the 23rd of June, but as a close ally and big friend of the United Kingdom, giving a view. And I don't think, we can't, on the one hand, if you like, really embrace and almost boast about our special relationship with the United States. And then, on the other hand, when you have things like this come up and the US president expresses a view on what it will mean for British influence abroad, say, oh, well, we're just going to dismiss what he says. So I'm not necessarily saying it's going to be decisive, but I think people voting on the 23rd of June will want to know what he thinks. And to be honest, I'd much rather, from the Remain campaign's point of view, I'd much rather we had the likes of Barack Obama and others, as we do have, arguing for Britain to remain in the European Union than have Marine Le Pen, who's apparently flying in from France to support the Brexiters.
Indeed, we're going to talk to Nigel Farage about that. But more broadly, there's a suspicion, and this isn't necessarily from people who've made up their mind either way, that, you guys are connected, so to speak. So David Cameron's, asking Obama to weigh in. Hillary Clinton's now joined in. We're just looking at the shots of Marine One, the helicopter ferrying the president to the airport there at Stansted before he boards Air Force One and is heading for Germany. A G5 summit taking place. Mr. Obama will meet Mr. Cameron again at that tomorrow. But Chuka, Umunna, the sense is that, you're getting the business leaders, you're getting the political leaders, you've lined them all up there, and you're trying to browbeat, you're trying to blackmail people.
I don't think so, not at all. And what you see there, and you've put a point of view, which is peddled by those who wish us to leave, which is a kind of, they've become conspiracy theorists, if you like. There's a broad swathe of opinion of different independent organisations who've argued that it's best for Britain and British people for us to stay in the European Union. And they're now telling us that you've, say, got the likes of Len McCluskey, the leader of the biggest union in the country, Unite, in cahoots with that well-known socialist at the IMF, Christine Lagarde, and, of course, the other socialists at the CBI. All of this being orchestrated by President Obama at the behest of Len McCluskey's new best friend, George Osborne, the Chancellor of the Exchequer in number 11 Downing Street. Of course, that's fantasy, that's ludicrous. But what you've got is a broad swathe of independent organisations, a broad swathe of foreign leaders who we respect, who are saying, look, we think, from the point of view of the British people, this is the best thing for you to do, to remain a member of the European Union, because that's how you keep the great in Great Britain.
Well, you mentioned respect there. Let's talk about the comments from the Mayor of London, Boris Johnson, referred to Mr. Obama's heritage as part Kenyan being some of the reason he suspects, Mr. Johnson suspects, that he might not like the UK, and is further quoted as calling him weird.
Well, I think what Boris Johnson said was disgraceful and embarrassing. I think for any Londoner to watch our Mayor of London raise the issue of the President of the United States ethnicity and then very publicly have to be slapped down by that President for doing so, I think for Londoners is an embarrassment. But worse than that is the suggestion that if you don't particularly like colonisation and you don't think that that was a very good thing in the past, and look, I'm part Nigerian. Nigeria is a former colony of the UK. I don't think colonialisation is terribly defensible. Somehow, to hold that view means that you love Britain less, or you have less respect for the United Kingdom. That was essentially the suggestion in what Boris Johnson said, which I think a whole swathe of Britain's diaspora communities from Commonwealth countries who've come to settle here, people who've got a background like mine, find deeply offensive. And I actually think what it illustrates is this man is simply not fit to hold the office that he clearly aspires to, which is the Prime Minister of our country. This kind of divisive rhetoric is indefensible. And I think, you know, since this campaign has started, the EU referendum campaign has started, I think it has exposed Boris Johnson, and it has shown that he's simply not fit for the office that he aspires to take. And of course there's going to be a change in Prime Minister before the general election.
Yeah, OK, and maybe sooner than many people might expect. Your leader, though, Jeremy Corbyn, I mean, you've been foursquare behind the campaign since it started. Plenty of people in your party asking for Jeremy Corbyn to do more to prevent a Brexit, so he's made one speech. One big speech. Is he going to do more after the May elections? Is he really going to roll the sleeves up and get involved? Have you spoken to him about it?
I have spoken to him about it. He is going to do more. I thought his speech was fantastic. I was very, very pleased with it. And in some senses, because he's not been, you know, an evangelist for the European Union.
Well, you said he wasn't wholeheartedly in favour of it.
And he wasn't at the outset. But he's looked, on balance, at what we believe in the values that we hold dear as a Labour Party. We want to see a more equal, more democratic, more environmentally sustainable world. He's looked at this imbalance and come to the view, quite rightly, that we can best advance the progressive causes that we believe in by being part of this European club, as opposed to sitting on the sidelines working with people like Nigel Farage, Marine Le Pen and others. He knows that if you care about the things that we care about in the Labour Party, the best way to advance that is through British membership.
And would you call for the entire leadership, which of course you're not now part of, the entire Labour leadership to mobilise the Labour Party operation? You've got a formidable ground operation, as we saw from the general election. OK, you lost, but you get the vote out, perhaps not in the places that actually matter for you to win the general election, but you get the vote out. And on this, it's bulk votes. You can get particularly that young vote out,
I mean, I think
you try.
Younger voters who, in much greater numbers, voted for Labour at the last general election are going to be important. But also, I mean, I lead the Labour campaign, the Labour In for Britain campaign in London, and if you look at the 10 most pro-EU areas in the country, 5 of them are in London: Lambeth, Southwark, Brent, Haringey, and there are others like Tower Hamlets, Merton, etc., where we have a huge number of people who favour our membership, but we've got to get them out to vote. That's the absolute key thing here.